This lesson is about the types of recording in social casework practice, which is a direct method of social work. The major purpose of this lesson is to introduce the need and importance of recording in casework and also to understand the different types of recording. Let's see some of the objectives. On the completion of this lesson, you should be able to understand the meaning of recording, the principles, need and importance of recording in social casework, the types of recording in social casework, to write a record using the different types of recording. Now let's see what social casework is about. Social casework may be defined as the art of doing different things for and with different people by cooperating with them to achieve at one and the same time their own and society's betterment. This definition was given by Mary Richmond in the year 1917. Social casework is a direct method of social work and is one of the primary methods of intervention in social work. The term social diagnosis came to be referred as a systematic way for helping professionals to gather information and study client problems based on each client's unique background, problems and individual needs. This again was stated by Mary Richmond in the year 1917. In social casework, the relationship between the caseworker and the client is one of the support, focus on enabling an individual in solving a problem through self-efforts. Each individual reacts differently to his social, economic and physical environments, and as such, the problems of the individuals are also very different from those of another. Problem solving is the intent behind every social casework process. The caseworker does not solve the problem for the client but helps the person in the situation to be equipped in solving or facing the problem adequately within the individual's weaknesses and strengths to the end of overall development. In other words, the role of a social caseworker is that of a guide or a facilitator and not a person who makes decision for the client's problem on behalf of the client. Now let's see what is recording in social casework. The Social Work Dictionary in the year 1995 defines recording as the process of putting in, writing and keeping on file relevant information about the client, the problem, the prognosis, the intervention, the progress of treatment, the social, economic and health factors contributing to the situation, and the procedures for termination of referral. This was cited by Robert L. Barker. Recording in social casework is grounded in the values, ethics and principles of social work profession. Recording is the process of writing down relevant information of the client in a systematic manner about the person who has come to the organization seeking professional help in order to solve the problem faced by the client. Recording is an integral and inevitable part of the social casework procedure. Therefore, it has to be written well. It is a highly skilled and a complex task. Recording makes the caseworker accountable on the client and the helping process. The records of the client should be maintained confidentially by the caseworker. Recording is a document of the client. The record of the client not only reveals the socio-economic profile of the client, but also the problems for which help is sought of the client, more importantly from the perspective of the client. The record also includes the techniques, used in the assessment of the problem, and the intervention procedure used by the case worker in helping the client resolve the problem. The social casework skills and techniques used by the caseworker are also mentioned in the record. The record should also include follow-up sessions, as this will enable the caseworker and the client to measure the progress of the problem and the coping strategy used by the client in coping with one's problem. Recording helps in providing statistical data on social problems. Each record is different and there is no format in recording. Each record is tailor-made to the client, and so the caseworker will have to prepare the records according to the client's problem. However, some common guidelines will be followed by the caseworker in order to elicit information about the client. Recording should include the nature of the problem and request presented by the client to the caseworker. Now let's look at some of the principles of recording. Accuracy. The information recorded by the caseworker must be accurate, and it should not be changed to suit the convenience of writing the case recording by the caseworker. It must contain all the real and true information according to the perspective of the client. Simplicity. The data must be presented in a simple and clear manner so that it can be understood by the reader or by the caseworker at a later date. Haphazard and unnecessary information must not be recorded. True and correct information without complicating the language and the situation must be used. Clarity. The caseworker must be clear about the situation and also create a clearer situation in the mind of the client while reading the reports if needed by the client. Avoid using ambiguous or vague words in recording, as there will be no clarity in the explanation. Orderly. The record must be written in chronological order in order to understand the client and the problem better. It also helps the reader to understand the pattern of intervention better. The record can be written with side headings for better understanding and also for clarity. Objectivity. The caseworker will have to be objective while recording. The transference and counter-transference experiences should not be recorded. Emotional quotient of the client will have to be expressed and written with the right choice of words. The reaction of the client should be recorded to a great extent in the same words expressed by the client. Observation. The caseworker should be a good observer and listener. There should be some kind of uniformity and standardization as to the form of observation. Note-taking of the discussion held with the client should be immediately done after the discussion or counseling session. This will enable the caseworker to recall and remember the discussion more vividly. If the recording of the discussion is done at a later time, the retention of the caseworker is sometimes at stake for details. Usually, note-taking is not done when the discussion is in progress, as this will distract the thought process of both the client who is discussing the problem and the caseworker. Now let's look at the importance of recording. First, by maintaining records, a worker can improve his or her professional skills and techniques, can learn by his own errors and can thus make his help more effective and systematic. Second, records not only help a worker to evaluate his own work, but he can also improve upon his own methods. Third, records can create interest not only in the worker but also in the client and help in building worker-client relationship. Fourth, records add to the body of knowledge of social work and also make this knowledge communicable. Fifth, records make supervision and teaching easier and effective. Sixth, records can be used for social work research and planning. Seventh, through records, a social worker can show his agency what work he or she has done. Eighth, records ensure continuity of work if another replaces one worker. Ninth, records are useful for future references. 10th, records help in providing service on a systematic basis. Now let's try to understand what is the purpose of recording in casework. From the organization's perspective, some of the purposes of recording are: first, recording helps in diagnosis and treatment. Second, recording enables more effective interviewing and intervention as an aid to practice. Third, it contributes to analytical reflection and improvement in social casework practice. Fourth, recording is useful for organizing and structuring of information, aids in orderly thinking. Fifth, recording refreshes the memory of the caseworker, increases retrospective understanding. Sixth, it enables the caseworker to plan better for the subsequent interviews and also acts as a guide in correcting mistakes made in the past. Seventh, recording enables the new caseworker to continue with the intervention follow-up of the client. Eighth, recording is useful for future reference and in the sharing of experience between organizations. Then, understanding from the student's perspective. First, recording helps students to develop analytical and interpretative skills. Second, recording helps students to be introduced to research, which is a useful tool in social work, education and profession. Third, it helps in supervision and training of students, and therefore it is a teaching aid. Fourth, the skill of recording helps students to add information to the body of knowledge of social work. Fifth, recording contains accumulated experience. Sixth, recording helps to improve communication between the supervisor and the student. Now let's look at the types of recording in casework. There are different types of recording in social casework. The most commonly used types of recording are process recording, summary recording, verbatim recording, and non-verbatim recording. First one, process recording. Process recording is a major learning tool in social work. In social work, the ability to interact effectively with clients and others is necessary and should also be effective. Process recording helps one to interact with the client keenly and also to be an active listener. This is the most frequently used form of recording by the social case worker. A detailed description of the problem discussed is summarized and recorded, not changing the sequence even chronologically. Process recording includes not only what both the social case worker and the client discussed, but also the significant reactions of the client and the emotional changes in mood are also recorded. Process recording tries to record the developments and actions in the problem-solving process between the social caseworker and the client. These developments are directly or meaningfully related to understand the person in situation and the intervention process. In process recording, the process of helping is recorded, which includes the relevant conversations, observations, and reaction of the worker in the developmental sequence. This helps the social caseworker to know the knowledge of human behavior and social situations, and if this reaction to the client's verbal and non-verbal communications are appropriate. Process recording will also help to know if planning for the future of the client is consistent with the presenting situation. The usefulness of the process recording depends to a considerable extent to the ability of the worker to recall exactly what has happened and in what order, and to look at the facts in an objective manner in order to get at underlying feelings and meanings. Process recording is time consuming. The second type of recording is summary recording. Summary recording is a summary of all the assessment which was derived from the interactions over a long period and makes statements about the client's progress. Effective assessment involves evaluation or decisions about the client's progress, and this gives the information a caseworker needs to plan the next step. This is called assessment for learning. It is the formative assessment based on observations and other forms of evidence which informs or guides everyday planning. Summary recording is a good device for organizing and analyzing facts. Summary is commonly assumed to be a short note which will help in recalling or to understand with clarity and precision. Summary recording, therefore, can be written with different topics of the case analyzed. This will enable in understanding with clarity the problem. Summary recording should also be written in a chronological order. According to Mrs. Sheffield, has defined summary in social casework recording as a digest of significant facts in the client's history which has previously been recorded. Summary recording can be done at the time of closing, and it should be done by the social caseworker who dealt with the client till the end. Summary records are short and easy to use when considering the total service process. It tries to summarize the main events and avoid the details of all events. Summary recording saves time and labor when process recording comparatively is very time consuming. Now the third type of recording is verbatim recording. Verbatim recording is the reproduction of factual data in the individual's own words. It is commonly used in social casework because of its accuracy and objectivity. It is a reproduction of factual data in the individual's own words. Verbatim recording is used because it records accurately and objectively. It is not a mechanical reproduction of information. Verbatim recording is time consuming. Students are encouraged to write the entire casework process in verbatim recording, as the supervisor will be able to guide the student through. Clarification and correction of the discussion is possible. At the time of training of the caseworker, verbatim recording adds value in the worker to develop objectivity. The next type of recording is non-verbatim recording. Non-verbatim recording is also known as narrative recording. In non-verbatim recording, everything that has happened is recorded, both positive and negative. It is written in the same way the client narrates the problem. It consists of all the statements, observations, and comments of the social caseworker. The purpose of non-verbatim recording, which is usually seen in writing newspaper articles, is an attempt to reproduce all the situations. There is accuracy, clarity, and objectivity in this type of recording. Let's summarize this lesson. So, the aim of recording in social casework is to reflect an orderly way of thinking. The case record should contain a clear, concise, accurate, and objective presentation of the material. Record is dynamic and flexible. The record should bring out clearly the nature of the problem presented. New forms of recording like videography, tape recording, and other electronic gadgets are used in recording. Nevertheless, the most important and prime factor the social caseworker should keep in mind is that permission should be obtained from the client before recording.